T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the return of the
Oh my God. We're back, and everybody is going to want to know all about the Mercury Retrograde in Libra. Return of the X's. Enemies everywhere because it's rolling back into Virgo.
Yeah, the critics.
Just give me the fucking receipts.
Hey, I like you. And then it goes back into Virgo. Hey, I don't like that you do.
And it's gonna be like everybody's all like getting into relationship season because it's fucking September and everybody's getting, it's cuffing season, right? September's
cuffing
you know, all the white girls, they want to take photos in the pumpkin patch with a man.
Are you gonna get drafted this cuffing season?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's the cuffing season draft.
We should call it, that's what it is.
That's what it is, yeah. Every year, happens every year. After summer, you know, people want to get cuddly.
Boom. It's like fall equinox, and
you get your summer body ready. You do the work, and then you get drafted for cuffing season. That's how it works.
My summer body was like booze. There is no summer body because I'm preparing for winter season. Somebody's got to keep you guys fucking warm around here.
You see, she's thinking long term.
North Node's in Taurus. It pays to have a fat behind.
And just the cuddly tummy, stomach, all that.
Contrary to popular belief, I have a theory that that's what men really like.
And women like dad bods.
I mean, dad bods are in.
Whether you're a dad or not. So there you go.
Just not like sweatpants with socks and slides. I can't get behind that.
Unless you're a shower.
Unless you're wearing gray sweatpants.
Right.
That is like a sport.
I mean, if you're a grower, you can grow too.
Girls can wear sweatpants, whatever. I mean,
girls can wear leggings. I like that.
I feel like September through like March, that's what you wear, black leggings. It's like, as summer season is ending, I'm like, oh, I gotta trade in all my summer black clothes for like winter black clothes. It's Scorpio problems.
Oh yeah, all black. I love that. This Mercury retrograde, it's gonna be messy. I love that.
I'm gonna bite my tongue on that one because.
Yeah, and I posted my WCW today. I haven't posted WCW.
People are still doing that?
No, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I did it, but you know, I have a Leo crush, so I posted her. And now everyone's like, oh, I know your type. And it's like, I don't got no type. Bad bitches is the only thing that I like.
Pussy doesn't have a face.
Doesn't matter what color you are, culture, ethnicity, are you bad? I like you. There you go. It's that simple. So I don't want to be hearing about, oh, I see what your type is. No, I like of all varieties. Okay, if you sexy, you sexy. That's all that matters. And shout out to Mercury in Libra, because we gonna be seeing who got that game, who got that talk. I'm not a player. I'm a coach. You know, I
thought you were gonna say I'm not a player. I just crush a lot.
I just crush a lot. You feel me? Like, shout out to Big Fun. That's all. I be crushing. That's all.
I'm a fan of this Mercury retrograde. I've liked all of the Mercury retrogrades this year. I'm in a Mercury year. I think the Mercury retrogrades have started in air signs. They've retrograded back to earth signs. Yeah. They've grounded out, and they've all made aspects to Pluto. So we're getting really deep when it comes to information, facts.
Yeah, information fact, how they bridge socially, how you can present them to real people you talk to, the arguments that come through. And I think the signature of this is the Jupiter opposition. So that's going to bring it a boost that we don't normally have.
I started the chart when Mercury's in Libra. It will actually retrograde from Libra back into Virgo. So it'll go from 8 degrees of Libra to about 24 degrees of Virgo. But I wanted to start it in Libra because that's where the retrograde is starting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll kick it off on August 25th, although the retrograde won't be for a couple of days later. Mercury in Libra. I mean, I feel like that's like mediator type energy. You know, it's a lot of like, where do you want to go to dinner? I don't know.
To me, Mercury in Libra is you're in class and you're ready to do the group presentation. So Mercury in Virgo was you studying with the group, you were getting the info, the facts. Now it's presentation time. Hey, we're doing our presentation on this and we have to give that. But maybe the retrograde is, oh, certain facts have changed. We need to redo the presentation. We'll be back. And whereas we had the retrograde back into Virgo, before it was presenting or coming into details that we didn't know where we fit in the context, versus now we know where we fit in. And it's going to be completely different the way we kind of express, like certain things we didn't know how to say. Now we know who we are and how to say it and what it is. So this is going to be huge conflict, but I think good conflict.
Retrogrades in Libra are my favorite thing. Like, I like legitimately my favorite, because you'll see everybody be like, this is my boyfriend. And then I just will watch Facebook until it retrogrades and it makes like a difficult aspect, or like the Kazimi. And then you'll like see someone like subtly be like single. And I'll be like, what happened here?
They didn't announce that, right?
Yeah. So you'll announce the relationship, but you won't announce the fact that everything kind of went to shit.
Or how about the exes coming back, and people
God.
might, getting back with their exes? That's going to be flagrant, because all this Mercury retrograde is opposite Neptune. So
I feel like that's like a common thing, because everybody wants to be single during the summertime, and then it's like, all right, September rolls around, like, are we going to do this for 3 months?
Right. Yep.
Or so. So Mercury enters into Libra on the 25th of August. And what's kind of interesting is like the first couple days, we touched on this in the Mars and Gemini video, but Mercury's going to be in aspect to Mars. Not bad, actually, all the way up until the time that it's getting ready to station retrograde. Probably the first major aspect that I want to touch on is Mercury trine Mars, and then Mercury opposed Jupiter.
Yeah.
Retrograde.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's huge. That's so huge. It's so much focus and clarity too, because Gemini is very unstable. But Will Smith did the movie Focus. It terrified me. It's a very eye-opening movie, but it to me exemplifies what Libra is, the finesser. And Libra will basically know how to talk to you in order to finesse anything from you. But outside of that concept, you're directing the actual power of what you're saying towards someone. And Mars in Gemini is the what to say, boosted by Jupiter. I think many people will have newfound courage they didn't have. And, this could be the courage to step up to a bully. This could be the courage to talk to your crush, confront your friend. And I think it's going to be both good and bad, and how dramatic and chaotic it will be. I'm here for the drama.
It's important also because the sun's in Virgo, so it's Virgo season as it's starting. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury, so to watch Mercury, second house to a Virgo sun is a lot of like, what do I value in relationships? What do, I want to hold on to? And then the oppositions to Jupiter I could see as a lot of like, you're fucking up. Like, go and, like, work on your shit, or, I'm here, I want to help you, but I can only do so much. And, like, what are we learning about ourselves independently, and how are we growing internally within ourselves to be better versions of ourselves so we can meet others, 7th house Libra.
And Jupiter is the boost, right? So if last time you talked to someone, now Jupiter is like, let's dance with them. It's like Jupiter is going to show you what you can do more of than you're used to doing. So it's like expanding out your comfort zone. How you socialize, because now you're bringing in an evolved sense of yourself to social interactions that you didn't have before. So that dynamic quality in and of itself is so powerful. But my question to you is, this is very much based on the Mercury and Virgo transit. So what do you feel of what's being analyzed now and that's going to be presented?
So when we saw the Mercury and Virgo transit, I mean, it made, a trine to the North Node Uranus in Taurus. So we were problem solving, finding new, solutions. We then saw it come into an opposition with Neptune, where we saw lots of just like bullshit in the media and like lots of confusion and like mixed statistics and things in regards to health, intentional kind of confusion and charts and graphs. And then we saw the trine to Pluto. So we will see the return of, as it retrogrades, a trine to Pluto, where we go deeper in terms of talking about power dynamics and what is healthy in communication, finding, digging up dirt and drama and stuff that's being unveiled, and then also the opposition to Neptune. So I could see it being like a lot of like, hey, did you hear about what came out in the news? And people are going to be like, oh, that's bullshit. And then when Mercury goes direct, comes out of the opposition with Neptune and trines Pluto, I think it'll be like, oh, actually, they think there's something to it. So, and I've said
and vice versa too, like stuff that's a lie, and then you find out, was actually, like, this was actually a lie. It wasn't true. Like, stuff that's meant to deceive us.
Yeah, there's going to, across the board. But I feel like a lot of you guys owe an apology to your conspiracy theorist friends. I'm going to say it right now. And we're going to see this through this transit of Mercury because
details,
the
facts.
Mercury retrograde is symbolic of Mercury going to hell and back. Goes to the underworld, uncovers information, brings all of this stuff up, especially with a trine to Pluto. It's all going to be uncovered. And then as Mercury goes direct and then it comes forward, after the Kazimi, we're going to learn something new that is going to be factual and it is going to have something like legitimate behind it.
We're going to gain context is what you're saying.
Yeah.
To details that were there, but we didn't know how, and we're going to know how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
Mercury is actually going to turn retrograde at 7 degrees. No, 8 degrees. I take that back. It'll be 8 degrees. So it's going to slow down, and then it's going to station retrograde. It looks like it's going retrograde on September 10th.
Moon in Pisces.
At 8 degrees of Libra. I'm curious to see what happens here the next day on the 11th, where Mercury is going retrograde. It opposes the moon and it's conjunct Jupiter. So it could see this as like some like spats in relationships and being like, you need to go and think about your shit and then get back to me.
Changing the direction of relationships then.
I think there's going to be some harsh criticism also as it returns back to Virgo and like people really needing to take a good hard look at themselves before they, can come correct in relationships. Mercury is going to then turn backwards. It comes back into an opposition with Jupiter at a 5. Both are retrograde. So if we dig hard enough around the 17th, I think we might actually find that like we have learned a lot of personal lessons. Our beliefs have changed. We've grown. We're willing to be more courageous and meet other people. And we can find that there can be some like really positive conversations that we can have with others that can help us partner better. Not wild about that Sun opposed Neptune that was kind of hanging around for a little bit, so we're kind of lost in our feelings. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about Mercury retrograde opposed Jupiter and Neptune? Possibly new information coming out about travel and our ability to travel as well. We know that when Mercury retrogrades, we see issues with Mercury topics. So we're going to see problems with traveling, gadgets, transportation, cars. But I think it's like making it more challenging for us to communicate with other people in some sense.
No, definitely. And challenging in the sense where we break through into new ground. And, this is also coinciding the sun getting ready to Kazimi Mercury, opposite Neptune. So at this stage of the opposition, the clarity we're breaking through with Moon coming out of Gemini is literally the definition of mind-blowing. And it's going to take a week to process coming into the new Moon Libra, right?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting, the news cycles that come through. So we know that the opposition to Jupiter is our brain being able to process how it's like, imagine you leveled up. So it's like, how do I process my leveled up self? And the key thing about this, the second thing is Mercury was in Aries. So the development of how we individually personified our brain, now it's completing in Libra. Now we're fully expressing that through Aries, Taurus, to Leo, to Libra. So this is also a major completion. We're reevaluating. To me, this opposition is our clothes have grown. Like we've had growing pains. Now we're getting ready to, with the retrograde, buy new clothes that fit us.
I think, when we're in Virgo season, we're going to look at Mercury a little bit more closely. So I think that this can actually be like a realization of some good news. Yeah. But then when Mercury is dropping back into Libra, it's going to be interesting. So watch this. So Mercury goes retrograde. It comes back into Libra, but the Kazimi, which will be taking place on September 22nd at 0 degrees of Libra, is having us not just look at the Kazimi. So this is the halfway point in the Mercury retrograde. If you haven't figured out what the retrograde is about at that point, you're going to realize somewhere around that day. Opportunities for like chance conversations, chance meetings, relationships, partnerships. But then the energy shifts a little bit because it's Libra season and it's the solstice, the fall equinox. Fall equinox. And then we look at Venus. So we see Venus in an opposition to Neptune And then we see the sun, Kazimi, with Mercury. Mercury retrograde in Libra. I mean, that's like your common, you're going to hear from exes from the past. They're going to call. There's going to be a lot of rehashing and thinking about relationships and partnerships just across the board. That's the theme. But I think with like Venus opposed Neptune is like people can really be in their feelings and being like, man, I really miss that person, or like she looks good on her Instagram, I'm gonna reach back out to her, like, and reevaluating, I think, relationships, like a very interesting way. As we get closer to September, we'll definitely look at the fall equinox chart, but just knowing that that's how we're kicking off the next season, the Sun Mercury, and Mercury's in a superior position relaying information that relates to Venus, right? Venus in the 12th house position to the sun. So there's going to be a lot of people thinking about their relationships, thinking about the past, wondering if the grass is greener, wondering if people still miss them, wondering if there's something better out there. Really interesting way to start the fall season, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. I like the Kazimis because I feel like it always manifests as like I said, like some kind of like little cosmic information that kind of comes in that we weren't anticipating we were going to get. It's at 0 degrees of Libra. So, I mean, it's also like 0 degrees of a cardinal sign.
Yeah.
So it's very potent, and it's where we're learning how to come into balance with our mind, with ourself, with our relationships, and what we think or what we have to say in partnerships.
And just a whole new open door too. I love that that's happening on the equinox, equal day, equal night. I think it's going to really balance literally everything we've integrated as far as how to present ourselves to other people. And this is going to make you aware of what needs to balance, shift, and change in order to augment that. Because the moon will subsequently meet Mercury before it is new in Libra. So we'll be understanding the insight of this Kazimi before we start that cycle in Libra as it retrogrades and goes over Venus. And that's just going to connect so many dots that weren't connected. It's a huge epiphany and aha moment where the Mercury Sun Kazimi is, oh, that's who this person is in my life. Or that's who I'm supposed to be. And then it goes back to Virgo and it's like, oh, this is how, oh, this is how. So I'm looking forward to that because once again, like, you know, there's certain people who maybe in your life you have to say you were right. And I think this is going to be like, in a sense where everything kind of coalesces and people realize they were both right. They were just arguing in how to express it. And in this realization, they realize who the common threat is trying to divide these people. So, you know, it's nuanced, it's subtle, but I think this is one of those huge crescendo climax points that's going to be very powerful.
It's on the world axis points too. So it's going to be like information that's meant to be uniting people.
Right.
So it can be a lot of like, oh shit, you were right, I'm sorry, or like, actually, yeah, you know, this is like matching up, or like, you know, just in time for the holidays. So whether it's like a family member that you had a squabble with, a relationship that you were on and off with, and the Sabian symbol for, you know, 1 degrees of Libra is, I think, a butterfly and its imperfect wing or something like that. It's basically being able to go into the Libra mansion and being like, things don't have to be perfect. They're not supposed to be perfect. We're learning how to come into Libra energy and how to redefine what it means to be beautiful. So that's kind of a cool aspect.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have Mercury go back into Virgo, okay, at 29 degrees the next day on the 23rd. This is the period I've been most interested in. The moon goes into Virgo on the 24th. It conjuncts Venus, and Mercury is retrograding back to Venus. So if there is a day to really watch, I think it's going to be right around the 24th, because the moon's going to activate Venus with Mercury retrograde, and people are going to be reevaluating, what does it mean to be healthy? What does it mean to eat well, take care of our bodies? How can we be of service? And where does relationship and love require sacrifice?
Yeah. It's also transcending facts. The balsamic phase here is now having to release an old detail that, in light of the truth, is opposite Neptune, a mind-blowing twist. You know, you just met someone, you hit it off, they're the love of your life. you realize that they're the woman for you, and this balsamic phase, you realize they were a man. Or you realize, you know what I'm saying, like they have a whole nother relationship. You know what I'm saying? So now once that goes into the new moon, you're having to bridge that, like kind of changes things. That's very dramatic, but like just some kind of like twist like that can really shake things up coming into that new moon. Opposite Jupiter. So,
oh man.
Yeah.
And the couple days to follow, even as Mercury retrogrades back, it'll trine Pluto again. This day is kind of interesting too, the 26th and the 27th. Then Mercury and Venus align right here. Actually, more so on the 26th. Mercury retrograde conjunct Venus, both trine Pluto. What do you think about that? Right after the new moon in Libra.
So I feel like the trines to Pluto and Virgo, it's like empowering. It's like being able to crystallize extremely the power of said facts. Because Virgo, 9th house to Cap, provides the details for Cap to move forward practically. So yeah, I think that's a huge financial breakthrough, putting together materially. I wish I can give you more details. I sound vague as fuck, but that's very significant.
The fact that this all trines Pluto is very cathartic, like that to me seems like an actual physical or emotional like release.
Yeah.
But it's behind the sun in Libra, so it's kind of like, where are we wrapping up old relationships that we were like overly glamorizing or becoming kind of like looking at certain people with rose-colored glasses because of the opposition to Neptune. So we might realize like those people really weren't that great for us, and like there wasn't a lot of true honesty or commitment there. I mean, these would be the days I think that you would hear from people from the past because of that Mercury Venus retrograde, especially like if you're a Venus-based chart. So if you're like a Taurus or a Libra rising, or if you have any personal placements in Virgo, that could also be something that can be really prominent for you. But that retrograde conjunction and then Mercury in a trine to Pluto is more information coming up from the depths that we weren't aware of that can really allow us to heal the heart and also heal the mind. Then we're going to see Mercury come back to 24 degrees. This is where it's going to station, and it's going to be still in an opposition to Neptune. Not exact, it'll be by about a degree, but that opposition to Neptune I think is really kind of like, wow, like the way that I was thinking or what I thought was true or factual may not be. And I may need to change my mind or rework something about the way that I view health or anything in relation, I think to Virgo. I think this is also going to be about like the healthcare system, because I could see how Neptune relates to like viruses or global health or hospitals, and Mercury retrograde can be like this reorganization of healthcare. Like I'm really interested to watch this and see what happens with the rollback of what the CDC has said recently and whether or not they're going to reinstate people who lost their jobs, who are in the medical field, who resisted the mandates. And if there's going to be some decisions that are going to be made that are going to allow those people to like have their resources back. Like lots of people lost their jobs, they lost their 401ks, they were invested in careers in service, not just nurses and doctors, but I think people who lost a lot of money in the service industry, people who lost a lot of money who were also involved in hospitality. I think of people in uniforms with the trines to Pluto, so the police officers, the firemen, like other people who are of service that are like, we showed up and we helped you. Are you going to let us back? Now, we might also see shortages happening in healthcare or happening in the service industry as well. So depending on what information comes up, in spite of this, it's all going to be square to Mars and Gemini. So there's going to be kind of like, do we do this or do that? And I'm just hoping that we're looking at the past and where we have handled things in terms of like lockdowns and mandates and realized that it was crushing for some industries and like really affected a lot of people's, not just pocketbooks, but their mental and their physical
and
health.
livelihood. Yeah. And I love that because that's all very Virgoan. It's lifestyle, it's behavior. And the one major facet to think about the Mars and Mercury retrograde is that with Pisces, with Virgo, with Gemini, this period, like the North Node in Gemini, is very changeable. There's a myriad of decisions and variables that kind of make what can happen this way or that way. It's not set in stone. Scorpio season is when it will be set in stone.
And then there will be eclipses, and then it's square Saturn and opposed Uranus, and then we're going to realize that.
Yeah. The consequence of our actions, and decisions. So that's what makes this a very interesting period. Like, things really are up in the air. And it's just like the 2020 period, the decisions we made, we could have gone this way or that way. Now we're dealing with the consequences of that. This is midterm elections. Same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to bring that whole up in the air feeling, and you're going to be persuaded on this side, persuaded on that side. And it'd be very interesting to take note of what's happening that people aren't paying attention to because they're caught up in what's happening in the moment, versus, because some people like Candace will be able to see the long-term effects while people are distracted with what's happening versus what's happening right now. So tune into that. Don't get distracted by Pisces or Virgo. Focus on Gemini, what's actually happening in how it augments. Focus on Scorpio, the South Node, you know what I'm saying? What's actually being released. And that Libra season period is going to be the actions that determine Capricorn season, how we break through. So, I mean, it's like holding your breath. You're riding the roller coaster up to the peak of Sagittarius.
Yeah.
So, it's very, very pivotal breakthrough moment.
I find it interesting that when the shadow actually started, I think it was August, I think it'll be August 20th. I'll look at that in a second. When Mercury first entered 24 degrees of Virgo, it was in a square to the moon in Gemini and Neptune. So here we go. Mercury is returning back to 24 degrees. It's squaring Mars at 20 degrees of Gemini. So that Mars, or that Gemini 19 degrees, bringing up the eclipses that we've had over the last 2 years, but also saying like, hey, the narrative's changing. We're pivoting. There's a plan B, or there's a second path, or there's a second option, or a second motivation. And there is a need to be flexible based off of the information that's coming up, and we may have to kind of pivot the direction of where we're going. And I think the beauty is that once this goes direct here on October 2nd, we've got a lot of planets in Libra, Sun in Libra, Venus in Libra. Mercury comes out of the opposition with Neptune, so it's getting out of that foggy haze. It's in a trine to Pluto for the third time on October 6th. But we've got like Venus and the Sun coming into a trine with Mars and Saturn. Like, as much as I like Mercury in Libra, it can be kind of indecisive, and maybe we're going to realize like we're too people pleasing or making decisions that are better for other people. And as it drops back into Virgo, we're going to realize like, no, we need to reassess based on our own personal goals and like what's healthy for us. So Mercury's coming out of the square with Mars and also with Neptune.
I like this. The square, I feel, is like Mars and Gemini will key you in on what to do before you kind of question it with the retrograde. But Mercury with the square is going to be like, okay, you want to do this, but how are you going to do it? Because you can do it like this, you can do it like that, and it's going to kind of clash to make sure you're doing it. Because Mars is going to be so assertive, like, we have to do this. But Mercury's going to be like, well, there's this detail. Well, you didn't factor this. You didn't factor that. So by the time it goes back into Libra, now we're square literally on how we're going to do it.
I think also just Mercury returning back to Libra once it's direct is interesting because then it's going to come into an opposition with Jupiter again.
1 degree, damn.
So it'll be bringing more good information, more positive news. We've worked everything out. We've realized whether or not it makes sense to partner with other people or go our own way. I think there's a lot of like room for like relationship healing also and like clearing the air and like, I could see like the Mercury retrograde in Virgo being like, I need to go away and take some time to think about it, or we need to go to therapy, or like we need to like take a break and like reassess things before we come back and we meet each other. So if you're going through rockiness in September, I could see this being like a nice turning point with Mercury post Jupiter and then the Sun Venus coming into a trine both with Saturn and Mars as we get into the mid-October period as being like pretty damn good.
And okay, so like if we take the Mercury retrograding opposite Jupiter retrograde, let's use the example of marketing. It's like, okay, I'm a real estate agent and my experience has got me to the point where it's like, oh, I've evolved. So before, I'll show you the house, I'll give you time to think about it, and then a week later, I'll sell you the house. So the retrograde comes through, and it's like, oh, I've evolved how good I am in a real estate agent. I can sell you the house the moment I show you. But it's going to retrograde in Virgo, and now I'm going to understand how to make up for this fact that I've evolved. Then it goes back 1 degree direct. Now I'm selling you the house when I show it to you, and I've caught up to my evolution. And that's the way to kind of see that adjustment period.
I think it can clear karma also in relation to other people. And like, if you're looking for a therapist, a counselor, a business partner, somebody who can like better kind of partner with you in general, the oppositions to Jupiter can be beautiful because Jupiter is retrograde, and it's like you're reimagining what your goals are and like what you're willing to go after.
And seeing really how much more real it is. Instead of just being a concept, it's like, oh, I want to actually talk to her. I want to be with her. Versus now it's like, oh, I actually know exactly what steps to do and to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. I am feeling like I said in previous videos, this is the sweet spot. The mid-October period is probably one of the better periods while we're still seeing, the Mercury shadow clearing out. I mean, Mercury comes out of shadow on the 17th, and then from there forward, I mean, this isn't the Mercury retrograde, but Mercury is then going to start coming into a trine with Saturn on the 22nd, and then it's also going to start building into a trine with Mars. So it's still kind of solidifying something and allowing yourself to kind of like really work well with other people before we come into the eclipses, before we also see that Mercury it'll be in a square with Pluto. Mercury square Pluto. So that's something to watch out for around the 26th. But I think that's also just going to factor into some of the intensity from the eclipses. I mean, some of you guys may need the Mercury retrograde in its entirety to figure out whether or not you're going to stay partnered with someone. And maybe when Mercury squares Pluto and Venus is eclipsed with the sun, then it's just like, if it's not solid, if it's not legitimate, then it's got to go, possibly. I could see that being the case. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're a Virgo or a Gemini rising, you're going to feel this very strongly. If you have any planets from 24 degrees of Virgo through about 8 degrees of Libra, you're going to feel this the most. We may touch back on this a little bit more, but you basically just want to look at where Libra and Virgo are in your chart. You're going to see that Mercury will retrograde back from Libra into Virgo, and I think it's just about sorting and sifting. You guys want more information, or if you've got planets in these degrees, or if you're one of these two signs, you want a reading, do consider booking a reading because it can be a really pivotal time in regards to how you're communicating with other people.
And that trine is Saturn that will be direct. We'll be moving forward towards integrating all this wisdom and details. Now you're knowing how to express it to who, and Saturn is going to strengthen the knowledge that will connect you to a greater collective. And where this moves forward, moving into February, where we'll have the conjunction of Saturn.
I mean, from the time that Mercury is at 18 degrees and it's trine Saturn until it's trining Mars, it's like you've made the commitment between then and the 27th of October to be like, this is what we're doing, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's
whether you want to or not. I like how you said that, because you may not want to move forward on it, but it's just a compromise.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very interested to see what happens. Let us know, where is it happening in your guys' chart. We'll touch on this probably a little bit more in future episodes. And for some of you guys who have some of those personal planets, consider booking a reading. You can join our memberships. If you join level 3, you're going to get a reading during our live session. So that's the beauty of being a member. You support the channel, and we can give you insight on those transits and talk to you about what's happening at that time.
Boom.
Where is it happening in your chart? Do you guys have
6th house, 5th
some
house,
feelings for what might happen? Oh boy.
Any ideas? Do you have any personal planets in Libra? How is it going to be activating you? It's good to know. Progressed, natal, even solar arc or draconic. But we'll catch you on the flip side.
We'll see all of you guys soon.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for watching, and happy retrograde.